Get in on the action this season with Underdog's Pick'em game. Select higher or lower between 2 and 8 players and compete for up to 325 times your entry. Use code DIRECTOR when signing up to receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash and a free pick. Yo to Bolt fam, it's the Director. Chargers fans, we got a little less than 2 weeks until the regular season is finally upon us. I cannot tell you how excited I am. We got some business to take care of first, dude. We got ourselves a very interesting week to pay attention to. Cuts are indeed due tomorrow? Yeah, Tuesday? Man, we're just getting this video in under the wire, huh? And we may see some shocking things, man. I think every year there's 1 or 2 guys where you're like, oh my God, I can't believe so-and-so didn't make the roster. Every once in a while as well, we're excited to see maybe an undrafted free agent make the roster. All of these narratives that we've been following through the preseason and training camp, a lot of it's coming to a head tomorrow in these cuts. And honestly, it's going to be pretty interesting. I'm doing some stuff with Bleacher Report tomorrow right after the cuts are announced. We will definitely be acting to all of this stuff and giving our thoughts on it, but I wanted to give you guys my prediction of what the 53-man roster would look like just in time before roster cuts are actually due. We're going to get in under the wire, so let's get into it, man. Before we do, shout out to the sponsor, Underdog. Oh, it's finally time, man. I'm so excited. I'm starting to get my entries and stuff in already. I'll show you guys some of the entries I've got right now. But make sure you use code DIRECTOR to receive up to $1,000 in bonus cash when signing up. Here's some of the entries I've got for now. Okay, I have to imagine there's going to be a few more before game day. I'm going to go the lower on Isaiah Pacheco, the higher on Keenan Allen receptions. That feels okay, right? And then I already had one a few weeks ago. I don't know if you guys had a chance to copy this. I don't know if these, entries are still available now, but definitely if you guys want a chance to either copy my entries or fade them, because either one might work out for you, that's the time to do so. Let's get in on it, man. It's a great way to support my channel, have some fun along the way, and it's a great time in the footballs. Before we do kick things off, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. Small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into it, baby. Lights, camera, action.
Who's got it better than us?
Into the end zone, Charger fans are witnesses to history!
It's your Chargers final 53-man roster prediction. Again, this is happening tomorrow. I probably should have gotten this video out on Sunday. Either way, man, let's get it in now. Let's plant some flags, see what we're working with, go position by position. If my math is correct, we should have 53 players accounted for on this list. And there's some things happening, up and down in the air in terms of injuries that we don't know about. Some guys who are working through something that may start on the NFL or the NFI or the PUP list or whatever. These are things to take in consideration as we get into it. But I wanted to plant my flag on what I think is going to happen. And here we go, man. Let's start at the quarterback position. Justin Herbert. Sure, he's having a couple of beers. Nothing a couple of beers can't fix, right? Man, dude's living his best life out here. Justin Herbert, of course, being our fearless leader, quarterback 1, will be the first player on this list, but it's the depth. The depth behind these guys, as a lot of you guys are interested in. I got the Chargers rostering 2 quarterbacks in Justin Herbert and, yes, Trey Lance. I think the Chargers fandom has really embraced the Trey Lance hype, myself included, man. He's looked awesome. He's looked fun. He's looked like the upside is finally living up to the name. And who knows what happens with the QB2 position as far as, trades and cuts and all this stuff. A number of things could happen. But right now I'm hoping, praying, and expecting Trey Lance to be our QB2. As for other guys, Tyler Heineke, DJU, one of them I would have to assume is going to be the QB3. If I were to take a guess, I would say it's Taylor Heineke, but there's some QB2 needy teams out there that may be willing to take a shot on trading for one of them, and more likely Taylor Heineke. But the Chargers do like the emergency QB3 rule that's been used, so you may see one of these guys still hanging around on the roster. Does Heineke hang around in the practice squad? I don't know, but it's definitely pretty interesting. It's interesting. I got Trey Lance at QB2, though. Let's get into maybe one of the most important positions on this entire roster going into this season, outside of quarterback, of course, and maybe offensive line. I'm really going to say, dude, that I think the running back position going to change the way teams and fans and people perceive the Charger. You're going to think of him in a different light because of the additions they've made at running back. Now, of course, we all know that Omarion Hampton is going to make the cut for me, but there's questions revolving around Najee Harris. That's also very interesting. I'll go ahead and open it with this. I got 4 running backs making this roster, and it wasn't an easy decision. I really feel like there's a lot of different ways you can go about this. But here we go. I got Najee Harris actually playing in week 1. There was some hints dropped by Joe Ortiz during the last preseason game that he would be available week 1. And honestly, that's what we want. We want to see Najee Harris out there. I know fantasy owners don't like it, and Chargers fans excited for Omarion Hampton, myself included, want to see him, take a bulk of the carries. But this is the best version possible of the Chargers run game, is having Najee Harris available. Now, don't get me wrong. I really do think Omarion Hampton's going to end up being RB1 for this team. It feels very similar to the Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins story we saw last season. Everyone was like, okay, it's Gus Edwards, RB1. And then just a few weeks in, J.K. Dobbins really took over as RB1, and Edwards played that complimentary role. I think we're headed towards that again. But I'm going to just say, the reason he's on this list is because we've heard that he's going to be available in Najee Harris, and it really is the best version of this backfield. So I'm going to go ahead and say Najee Harris, Omarion Hampton, Hassan Haskins have making the roster, and Rocket Sanders, which means Kamani Vidal was the man out. And again, this is not easy. I feel like Vidal or Rocket, easily either one of them could make the roster. Vidal, the upside in terms of receiving and pass pro. Rocket Sanders just feels like the bigger upside running back all around. So I decided to go with Sanders on this one, but can really go either way. Does Hassan Haskins, does his job become, in jeopardy? And maybe we see Vidal and Rocket both on the roster. Maybe. I think in terms of upside and talent, that might be the move, but Haskins is such an important piece of that special teams unit that I think that he sticks around. And I think you're going to see a couple of guys on this list with that narrative, special team. We need special team. Certainly. Okay. Next up, fullback. I don't think there's really any shocks here. We got Scott Matlock out here playing that dual role at fullback and a defensive line. But I'm going to say this. There is one name I kind of wanted to throw in terms of a wrench into this machine that might end up happening. And it's Tucker Fisk, man. Tucker Fisk looked pretty good in terms of his blocking for the running back in the preseason in a couple instances. And he looks to be a very solid, run blocking tight end, period. Maybe there's a chance that the Chargers want to go with something that's a little bit more utility based, and you see, Matlock moved back to defensive line, and you see, Tucker Fisk enter as that, fullback tight end hybrid. But that's what I got for now. I think Scott Matlock starts the season as the fullback. Let's get into wide receiver. Now, this one's very interesting. I think I actually got 2 photos for this. Yeah, I was like, okay, let's get a fun one. There are a lot of different ways you can slice this, but I think right now, this is maybe one of the more unsuspenseful reveals on my roster prediction, because it really feels like the names are just so solidified. There's no way you can move anyone else in or out, even though there are names that I think are worthy of consideration. Delvin Campbell looked awesome in that. Luke Grimm, who had 2, fumbled returns last week. Maybe a lot of people softened on that. But then there's Johnson and other guys that you could even think about. But in the end, I think the Chargers wide receiver room will end up with Ladd McConkey, Keenan Allen, Trey Harris, Quentin Johnston, Keandre Lambert-Smith, and Darius Davis for a total of 6 players at the position. And wow, guys, can I just say, dude, from last season, how bad the receiver position was to what we have now. Oh, dude, how is it? It's so impossible not to get excited about the potential of Justin Herbert and the offense, the run game, everything. The offense, I think, is going to take a huge step forward this season. The defense was really the story of the year last season, but this year I really think the offense is going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. It's going to have a much firmer grip on who they are in terms of identity running the football. It's going to be awesome. So, again, maybe a bit predictable here, but, I mean, it just also reflects how much improved the wide receiver room has looked going into the year. Finally, tight end. This one, again, there was a few names that I really did consider at the tail end of it. Tucker Fisk is probably the biggest one. Steve Klotz as well. Both of these guys, again, the upside of serving that fullback tight end hybrid, the utility fullback role, because I honestly think the Chargers should consider moving into that, position of like a Patrick Ricard or a Al Juszczyk type fullback that can be utilized in the passing game. I think that would really help Justin Herbert out, as well as add a little bit more speed to the fullback position for, Omarion Hampton, who's a pretty fast guy. Najee Harris, he's deceptively fast as well. But in the end, I decided to go with 3 tight ends. I got Tyler Conklin, obviously the free agent that we signed earlier this year. We're going to go with Will Dissly, one of the very best run-blocking tight ends in football. Obviously, the rookie in Oronde Gadsden. The other 2 guys, again, very heavily considered. I think it's a move that I would maybe make myself. If this were my roster, I would say, let's get a guy out there with a little speed and catching ability. Matlock can be that, but, it feels like the run game is making a turn to a more fast-paced, it feels like one of those guys would work too. But the tight end position also looks very, very improved. Tyler Conklin, I think, is going to be miles ahead of what we had last season, and Hayden Hurst, who unfortunately just didn't work out. Will Dissly was great last year. Let's hopefully see him come back. But Oronde Gadsden's really the dark horse here, right? He could be the X Factor guy. His touchdown versus the Niners in that preseason game, oh my God, everything you wanted to see out of Gadsden was on display in that touchdown. On a crosser, across the field, beat a safety of the Niners going off that speed. Caught a high point pass from DJU, showed that catch radius. It was awesome, man. So I think tight end, we may actually have something there to get excited about. I'm very excited to see what they do with Oronde Gadsden this year. I would be very anticipating trying to work him in at some point. Now to the position that probably has all, if not most, Chargers fans sweating. Okay, and it's going to be this offensive line position. Yes, the offensive line is not great right now in terms of the interior. And we all kind of knew this. The only signing the Chargers would really make in terms of the starters would be Mekhi Becton. But the center position, the left guard position was already kind of up in the air. And now all of a sudden we also have this huge hole at left tackle, or at least at tackle, with Rashawn Slater being out for the season before it even began. Man, what a gut punch that was. But in retrospect, it also tells us how lucky are we that we drafted Joe Alt last season. The foresight here, it just really feels like we got nail on the head with this pick, right? We get Ladd McConkey, we get Joe Alt, we keep that left tackle position intact, and I'm hearing a lot of really cool things about Joe Alt playing the left tackle position, man. It feels like, honestly, being his native position in at Notre Dame really feels like he's hitting a new level this season too, and he was already a spectacular right tackle last season. I think you're going to see an even better version of him this year, not just because he's improving, but he's also going back to his native position, which is wild. So I got 8 offensive linemen on this team right now. I got Joe Alt, Zion Johnson at left guard, Bradley Bozeman at center, Mekhi Becton at right guard, and Trey Pipkins at right tackle. All right, it could look a lot better, but it could also look a lot worse. In terms of the depth, I've got Jamari Sawyer serving as a hybrid swing tackle / guard. I mean, we're lucky to have Sawyer back there as this kind of do-it-all offensive lineman in terms of depth, because he's probably the best one. Andre James being the backup center / guard, I guess. They tried him out there as well. Then Branson Taylor, who is playing tackle and guard in the preseason. I don't know Branson Taylor's one to keep an eye on. I think he was maybe a little shaken up in that last game, but that's who I got. 8 offensive linemen. The depth could look a lot better. The starters in the interior could look a lot better outside of Mekhi Becton. But I think the running backs and the talent there could really help out smoothing over some of the shortcomings we're going to see from the offensive line this season. Let's move into the defensive side of the football here, man, a little quicker. Because I think there's a lot of positions here that we were pretty firm on. And one that I was really excited to see look better in the offseason was the defensive line, the interior of the defensive line in particular. I've got 5 players here. I thought I may go with 6, but ultimately I wanted to make room at another position to add a player that I think would really help benefit the defense. So the guys I have at interior defensive line, Pierre Tart, obviously, Deshaun Hand, who looked really, really good. Got Jamari Caldwell, Tito Agbonia, Justin Igboigbe, And the one that I was really, really gutted that didn't make it for me was Naquan Jones. I can't quite tell you where he is. I remember seeing more of Deshaun Hand present in those preseason games. But I'll have to wait and see, man. That's one that I'm kind of on the edge of my seat looking for. Tier Tart looks like he could be awesome this year. Caldwell, there's some nice upside there. But ultimately, the depth at this position is looking a lot better than I expected. And maybe Naquan Jones, if he makes it even more deep than we had realized and expected at the top of the season. So I think a unit led by Tier Tart, it could look worse. It could look better, but it's definitely not the biggest weakness on the team as it has been in years past. Now, in order to make room for this player, or for this upcoming position, this is where Naquan Jones' position is going to go. I got the edge position next, where I have 5 players as well. Normally, you're going to see 4 players in this position, but it's one where I feel like we saw a guy really work his way into the starting lineup. Khalil Mack, obviously. You got Tuli Tuipulotu, Bud Dupree, Kyle Kennard, the rookie, but ahead of him, I actually have Caleb Murphy. Caleb Murphy was absolutely awesome in the preseason. He logged several sacks. He was very disruptive, very consistent too, which is what you're looking for. And the Chargers, who really lean heavily on this edge position, are going to want to be deep there. Kyle Kennard feels very unproven at this point. He was a little banged up during camp and all that, but this position demands a lot. The defense demands a lot from the edge position. It really feels like that pressure has contributed to the success of the DBs last year. The Chargers were a very, very good team on defense, and I think a lot of it started with the Chargers' pressure, and so they want to keep that intact. The Chargers look very good here. Maybe not the upside is what we've seen with Mack and Bosa in the past, because obviously that didn't really live up, but it was very exciting. But it still looks super, super solid. One of the better in the NFL that you're going to find. At linebacker, guys, all I'm going to start off with this. Dan Henley might end up being not just the best linebacker on this team, but one of the best linebackers in football. This guy looks absolutely insane. The coverage ability, the tackling, the awareness, the leadership, it's all there in Dan Henley. I think we're going to see what's considered, I'm not going to say a breakout season because we all know who he is. We all know that he's great. I think you're going to really see a step forward in terms of recognition from the league and its fans, how good Dan Henley really is. So I got 5 linebackers in this spot here. I got Dan Henley, Denzel Perryman, Junior Colson, Troy Dye, Deshaun Hand, all playing a part in this year's linebacker position. At cornerback, this one's going to be interesting, man. There's some guys fighting for spots here. Some really big performances in the preseason from a couple of different guys. Nico Reed, Eric Rogers, who we don't know what's going on with him. He's probably still banged up. Does he make his return? I don't know. I think if Eric Rogers is banged up and he's able to play in 2 or 3 weeks, I think you would maybe see him in consideration of making this roster. But I've got 6 cornerbacks making the roster on this list. Obviously, Tarheeb Still, Am Hart, Dante Jackson. This next player was really tough. It was kind of a toss-up between him and Dean Leonard, who's also a great special teamer. I decided to go with Benjamin St. Juste just because he's got the size and speed, and they signed him this offseason. If it were me, I think I still lean Dean Leonard here, but it feels like Juice will probably end up being the guy for him. And then I got Jasir Taylor, and yes, Nico Reed making the bottom of this roster, which could be awesome. I think a lot of people wanted me to maybe cut Jasir Taylor. I can kind of feel that from the comments already. But Jasir Taylor's also a really, really good special teamer. They're gunner. And also a very spectacular tackler. He's not really good in coverage lately, but I have to imagine that Ryan Ficken wants to keep that intact for his special team. So Nico Reed probably being the biggest one people excited to see on this list, though. He was awesome in the preseason. Great in coverage, decent tackler. He's a playmaker. We saw that with the pick 6. I would feel pretty good about that one. And honestly, you put these guys in the hands of Jesse Minter, beautiful things will happen. Finally, the safety position, which I broke up into 2 different categories, free safety and strong safety. At free safety, I've got 2 players making the roster here with Alohi Gilman and Elijah Molden. Obviously, these 2 guys being high-profile players, nothing too crazy here. But at strong safety is where I think there was a lot of competition. And ultimately, I think I went with 3 very obvious guys. I got Derwin James, Tony Jefferson, who, by the way, Tony, Tony Jefferson, I'm actually going to go find it here while we're waiting because holy crap. He scared the crap out of me. I think Tony Jefferson, by the way, a very spectacular player for this team. And he comes out and he posts this yesterday. And he scared the crap out of me. He put the cut thing here. He was talking about something in this thread. What was it up here? He was all sad. He was talking about the Padres this whole time. He came out and he confirmed that it was about the Padres. It wasn't him being cut. I think he deserves a spot in this team. I hope that we see him on the roster tomorrow. But I got him, obviously Derwin James, Tony Jefferson, RJ Mickens. Okay, these are going to be the guys that I go with at strong safety for a total of 5 safety. Safety is also very important. It feels like edge and safety are things that they move around a whole lot. Everybody, actually, in this Jesse Minter defense, but those positions in particular. And you want to make sure you're nice and deep at both of those positions. All right. Finally, special teams. Nothing crazy here. Cameron Dicker, J.K. Scott, Josh Harris. Spectacular special teams. That, again, in this era of Chargers football, dude, I got to tell you, there's a lot of things that I'm very happy with that we maybe have not had in a long time. Special teams, there was a long period of time where special teams was our Achilles heel. So great to see that we finally got a kicker, we got a returner in Darius Davis. Everything's feeling pretty good. So all in all, I'm going to say the roster in very many different ways, if we want to put a grade on it, I'd give it like a solid B or B+. Feels pretty good. There's some depth that could certainly feel better. There's some starters on the offensive line that could feel better, but the improvements to running back, to wide receiver, that's going to tremendously help us on offense this season. I think we're going to head towards a really fun year for Chargers fans. Get in on the Najee Harris. Get in on the Omarion Hampton and fantasy. I think both of them are going to be very viable. Honestly, I would lean Omarion. But don't forget Najee, who's going to, score a nice, handful of touchdowns this season if he joins us, hopefully soon. And the defense, man, hopefully if they can keep at it, if they can stay anywhere close to where they were last season, holy cow, you pair that up with a much better offense, you're looking at a crazy good team for the Chargers this year. Well, with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. Hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. If you did enjoy this video, please leave your feedback in the comment section below as guys you think could make or be cut from the roster tomorrow. Either way, big day. We'll be reacting to the Chargers cuts and final rosters, and it should be an interesting experience. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Direct. If you like what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. We'll see you next time. As always, bolt up, stay frosty, stay on the roster. Tony Jefferson.